ties is intimately linked to the CIA. But if we're saying that the CIA runs domestic terrorism operations, we are saying Kroll does as well. These people have so much information about terrorism because they're either deeply rooted to intelligence or they are intelligence, privatized in order to make their work legal and untouchable by Congress. Oh God. Oh God. Are we saying that the people who run counterterrorism may very well be the terrorists themselves? Look, it's no coincidence that Kroll did security at those buildings. And it's no secret that Kroll employees have more inside knowledge about terrorism than even the FBI and the CIA do. They are inexplicably in a position to get inside information, even from people like John ONeill. Then they come out and they warn the country, or they tell everybody how the whole terrorist outfit works. They are well-placed operatives working a specific agenda to frame the patsies. And what do they say? To frame someone, you have to know the real details of the crime? Kroll is our suspect number one. No one had more means, motive, or opportunity to commit this attack. You can't be serious. What you're saying is suicide. You do not go out and publicly accuse a company like Kroll Associates of being a publicly traded terrorism company, okay? These people profit from insider knowledge of coming terrorist attacks. They don't disclose their credentials or their contacts. They merely claim they are experts from Kroll, and that's supposed to mean they are trustworthy. We need to stick to what we can prove here. All of this is just blatant speculation and can discredit this entire thing. Unless it's true. This is not how you run an investigation. You do not just dream up a hypothesis and then change the evidence to make it come true. You follow your leads, which led to Kroll! But not to this wild theory. I'm sure that these counter-terrorists are involved somehow, but there is no proof whatsoever that they took part in any of the attacks or even had any foreknowledge. So does that mean we just forget about it? Move on to the next topic? No. It means we don't get sidetracked. We can't just go flapping our lips about any old theory that we want to. So then how does Kroll get their information? How do these guys, of all people, know information that even our paid law enforcement and intelligence officials don't know? I mean, how does one become a terrorism expert anyway? You already have your answer. Former FBI directors on their board, former biowarfare experts within their infrastructure, members of major think tanks as directors, former U.S. attorneys as executives. This company is filled with people who could have had prior knowledge and just kept their contacts secret. This is a security company, after all. And one of the most important security issues facing the world in the last 20 years has been security from terrorism. That's where they get all their information. That is how they become counterterrorism experts. He has a point. There is clearly something wrong with Kroll, but we can't jump to conclusions. So then where do you think Kroll fits into this whole thing? They're just a group of for-hire thugs. They come in and trump up the charges on whoever needs to be guilty, and then they fade back into the shadows. The only thing I see them being guilty of is misleading the public. And the purpose of that? Maybe you're right. Maybe it is to cover up their crime. Or maybe, and so that people will hire them to secure their buildings. Maybe they take advantage of 9/11 the same way that Bush does. They take advantage of 9/11 for profit. Come on! Cherkasky is their CEO! It's obvious he's dirty! Obvious to us, yes. Look, Cherkasky takes us back to New York. Let's focus on that. much do you know about the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of Manhattan?
Not that much, although I'm sure they've been involved with the most high-profile cases in this country's history.
Right, and it's time we went through that history. Louis Freeh spent his entire career in law enforcement in New York City before becoming FBI director. And from 1981 to 1991, Freeh worked as a U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York City. And Rudy Giuliani worked in that same office from 1983 to 1993, just before he became mayor. And do not forget, don't you dare forget, that Cherkasky, the current CEO of Kroll, okay, the Kroll guy, he was in New York too at the same time. He was doing all the prosecutions too. You know it. Make sure you tell him. But Noriega, Gotti, and the BCCI have one very special thing in common.
What's that?
They were all key players in the global drug trade.
I figured drugs would make their way into this story.
Make their way? My friend, drugs are at its core. What do you know about the global drug trade?
Only what I read in the papers.
Then you know nothing. This is covered with even less honesty in the mainstream press than 9/11 is.
I've always assumed intelligence was involved.
As usual, your assumption would be correct. The war between the Soviets and the Afghans ended in 1979. Meanwhile, the drug trade from Latin America was heating up, with significant assistance from the CIA. It started big time with the formation of the Medellin drug cartel in Colombia in 1978. Founded by Carlos Lider, the Ochoa brothers, and Pablo Escobar, the Medellin cartel operated by manufacturing the coca plant into cocaine and shipping it to the U.S. The collaboration began when Lider purchased an island in the Bahamas, where corporate tax and banking laws are extremely lenient, and used that land as a jumping-off point to launder the money taken in by the drug sales. The Bahamas is home to thousands of tax-exempt corporations, including companies owned and managed by American International Group, AIG, the largest insurance company in the world and the sixth largest corporation in the world. One of AIG's companies in the Bahamas is named after a woman called Coral Talavera.
And who is she?
She's Carlos Lider's wife. She is the head of an AIG branch in San Francisco.
I don't understand. Isn't Carlos Lider in prison?
Not anymore. Carlos Lider was extradited from Colombia to the United States for trial in 1987. A year later, he was convicted and sentenced to life plus 135 years for drug trafficking and murder. While he was in prison, Carlos Lider struck a deal with the United States. Take down the cartel, and he would be granted freedom. Along the way, he implicated and then